All right, activist Victor here. Something I wanted to do yesterday, but I never got around to. Well, not being yesterday, but either way, this is Love, Laughter, and Funnel Cake. It's a fan fiction reading, in case you can't tell. So, sunset is beat after a long day of school. Well, you can read. You can read. Yeah, but then it's fine. Okay, sunset is beat after a long day of school, after a day of stress. Sunset just wants to have a bit of fun after school. Luckily for her, her friend Pinkie Pie is a master of fun and the fourth wall breaking. And what's more fun than visiting a carnival? With rides and fried foods and fun in store for the evening, Pinkie Pie plans to help Sunset have a night she'll never forget. Of course, if Pinkie's being super duper honest with herself, I like that descriptor. The carnival might provide the opportunity she needs to get something off her chest, a secret that makes her feel like she'll explode if she doesn't say it soon. But how do you tell your friend something this big when you know it might change everything? I'm going to take a wild guess at what it might be given the tag up here, but curse you, tags! You've betrayed me! After a long day of school, Sunset just wants to unwind. Pinkie knows that carnivals are the best way to have fun after a long day. And while she and Sunset are there, maybe she can get something off her chest. Right. Yes, chair. Please make loud noises. Okay, let's get reading on this. I've talked enough. Ooh, Sunset. And don't expect me to do the voices. It would suck. Ooh, Sunset plopped herself down on the cafeteria table unceremoniously, allowing herself to fold forward and rest against the cool surface. I'm beat, and there's still half a day left. What's up? Pinkie Pie asked from across the table between mouthfuls of dubious-looking cafeteria food. Ugh, where do I even start? Miss Charlie surprised the class with a pop quiz. Mr. Doodle wants a 2,000-word essay by Friday, and I've got to do that mile one run for PE next period. Sunset waved a hand in the air above her head in weak exasperation. You forgot to add that you laid down in a mashed potato, Pinkie pointed her fork at Sunset, who groaned in frustration as she sat up, revealing the mashed goodness spread across the front of her jacket. I'll just add that to the list of things that have gone wrong today, Sunset grumbled as she stole Pinkie's napkin to clean her jacket. You know what'll cheer you up? We should hang out after school. Pinkie threw her arms in the air, flinging her own mashed potatoes at another table of students, much to their discomfort. A few of them shot Pinkie angry looks as she blushed. Sorry, she grinned sheepishly. Sure, I don't have any plans for after school. It'll be nice to unwind. Sunset decided she'd cleaned up most of the mush from her jacket. What did you have? Pinkie squealed in delight and bolted from the cafeteria before Sunset finished her sentence. Well, that was actually pretty normal for her, Sunset said to herself. The girl shrugged before sliding Pinkie's tray of food over and digging in. Not bad. Okay. Sunset didn't see Pinkie for the rest of the day. She tried sending a text message to her, but didn't get any response. After waiting in front of the school for a bit, Sunset shrugged and headed home. If Pinkie was busy, they could just hang out later. Getting home was a relief. Sunset slipped her leather jacket off and tossed it onto the couch in the living room. A short walk to the fridge yielded a banana yogurt, which Sunset dove into before she had gotten back to the couch. Sunset managed to take one spoonful before an enthusiastic knocking summoned her to the door. Hey, Pinkie, I didn't expect you so soon. What's up? You'll never believe it. The most awesomest thing just happened. Pinkie was practically dancing with excitement. Okay, what happened? Come on! Pinkie grabbed Sunset's hand and began leading her down the street. Sunset barely had time to close the door behind her. Okay, where are we going? Sunset tried keeping the delicate balance of being led down the street and eating her yogurt. She failed. The last sight the dry yogurt had of Sunset was an apologetic frown as she turned a corner. You'll see, Pinkie grinned. Thankfully, it didn't take long for Sunset to find out where she was being dragged to. Bright lights and a cacophony of sound assaulted her senses. The smell of fried foods beckoned passers-by to come forward and indulge in delicious treats. Rides spun and swirled their occupants until they threatened to expel the contents of their stomachs. A carnival? I didn't know there was a carnival in town. Sunset raised an eyebrow as she let her hand slip from Pinkie's grasp. They just set it up today. Oh, cool. Sunset stepped forward a bit, scanning the somewhat sparse crowd of carnival goers. Are the girls meeting us here? They couldn't make it. Fluttershy and Rarity are working on a dress thingy. Dashy has soccer practice and then a pizza party with the team. Twilight's doing another experiment, and Applejack's at home helping with the harvest, so it's just you and me tonight. Pinkie beamed and finally took a breath. So what do you want to do first? How about bumper cars? Sunset pointed at the attraction in question. Those are always fun. The line for the ride was non-existent. Pinkie climbed into a pink car across from Sunset, who took a red one. The pink-haired girl grinned maniacally as she waited for the ride to start. Sunset smirked, accepting the girl's silent challenge. A loud buzzer sounded the start of the ride, sending both girls barreling at each other. They bounced away, spinning and swirling about the small area, each vying to get the best bump in. Sunset grinned mischievously as she bumped the side of Pinkie's car, only to be nudged a few moments later. The scoreless battle of bumping lasted only a few minutes before the loud buzzer went off again, shutting down the cars and sending them gliding just far enough for the girls to sneak one last collision in. The two of them stepped off the ride giggling. You know, that was more fun than I remember, Sunset smirked. I guess things are just better when you're not trying to angrily cream the other riders. Not unless you're trying the ice cream shop, Pinkie snorted, imagining bumper cars driving through mounds of caramel vanilla swirl. So tasty. She shook the thought from her head, scouting for the next ride for them to go on. Oh, let's go to the haunted castle. She started walking towards the ride in question. Really? But it's so cheesy. All you do is sit in a car while cardboard pops out at you. Sunset followed close behind. Yeah, but it'll be fun because you don't know when something's going to pop out and then wham, werewolf attacks. Pinkie slammed a fist into her open palm for emphasis. All right, Sunset rolled her eyes with a smile. Let's go get scared by fake monsters. I just hope we don't get paper cuts. We'll be fine as long as we keep our hands, feet, and snacks inside the ride, Pinkie reassured, missing the sarcasm in Sunset's voice. The haunted castle ride was pretty much what Sunset had described. The whole thing had a cheesy B-movie-esque feel to it. A plastic mummy stood swiftly on the other side of the ride's track, arms outstretched. Somewhere near it, a fog machine billowed out its soul export, hiding Sunset and Pinkie's feet from view. Hidden speakers played spooky sounds. Howling, groans, screams, and organ music filled the air. It was all Sunset could do not to roll her eyes. Had it not been for Pinkie's obvious excitement, Sunset would have suggested another ride. Please keep your hands, feet, and feet inside the vehicle at all times. A somewhat bored ride attendant said from his stool at the ride's control console. Told you, Pinkie whispered. Sunset snorted involuntarily, trying not to stifle her laugh as the ride lurched forward. Beware to all who enter, a deep voice whispered before breaking out into laughter. Pinkie let out a squeak of either fear or excitement. She couldn't tell which. They had made it 5 seconds into the ride when a cheap-looking zombie popped from a coffin propped up to one side. Pinkie let out a shriek of terror as she clutched tightly to Sunset's arm. Sunset jumped more from the sudden contact than from the lame special effects of the ride. Pinkie had gone from screaming to peals of laughter in the span of an instant. The laughter was infectious, and Sunset found herself grinning despite herself. Pinkie was remarkably good at that, taking something boring like a bad carnival ride and making it fun. A giant spider dropped from the ceiling. Even in the dim light of the ride, Sunset could tell the legs were made of pipe cleaner. That didn't stop Pinkie from crying in surprise and hugging Sunset's arm tighter. You're not actually scared of this, are you? Sunset asked as her fingers went numb from Pinkie's vice-like grip. It's fun. Being scared is like drinking coffee before a math test. It gives you that super-duper shock of energy and makes you giggle so much Miss Cheerily sends you to the Vice Principal Luna's office for disrupting the class. Pinkie's grinned. Why? Pinkie loosened her grip and leaned away from Sunset, squinting to try and see Sunset's expression in the dim light. Are you not having fun? It's not my favorite ride. Back in Equestria, when some pony did a haunted house, the vampire was suddenly illuminated by a spotlight while a fog machine hissed loudly, interrupting Sunset. When some pony did a haunted house, it was different. Magical haunted houses are just better. Oh, Pinkie looked down, frowning in thought. She looked back up, her trademark smile back on her face. We should go see one sometime. Go see. Somewhere up ahead, a recording of a woman's scream cut through the air. Sunset glared into the dark, tired of being interrupted. See a haunted house in Equestria. Or like in Equestria. Pinkie nodded. I don't know. I haven't been back there since the whole stealing Princess Twilight's crown thing. Sunset looked away from Pinkie, letting the sentence hang in the air. The two sat in silence for the rest of the ride. Whatever magic of the ride that managed to scare Pinkie had been lost. They stepped off the ride, Sunset deep in thought. Have you ever tried going back? Pinkie broke the lull in conversation as they walked nowhere in particular. Going back? To Equestria? I just couldn't leave behind my life here. Pinkie giggled. Not to stay, silly, to visit. So you can be all like, I'm sorry I stole Princess Twilight's crown and enslaved a high school to take over your country. I don't know. I've thought about it, but Sunset stopped suddenly, forcing Pinkie to stop and face her. But, Pinkie tilted her head in confusion, what if they don't want to see me? Why wouldn't they? You're already friends with Princess Twilight and you're super cool and you feel bad for what you did. I know if I were a pony princess I'd forgive you. Maybe you're right. A grateful smile made its way into Sunset's features. Thanks, Pinkie. Of course. Oh, let's go ride the Dizitron before we eat. You don't want to eat before that one, trust me. As Pinkie skipped off towards a saucer-shaped ride that was spinning rapidly. I learned the hard way. Sunset opened her mouth to say something, but decided against it. Sometimes it was better just to not ask. The Dizitron looked like something out of a bad 80s sci-fi film. Neon lights of all colors flashed brightly, begging people to notice as its synthesized music pounded from speakers hidden underneath it. The ride itself was painted in a purple and green spiral pattern, just like one of those cartoon hypnosis wheels. Sunset suddenly understood why Pinkie wanted to ride it before eating. She was feeling nauseous just looking at the eyesore of the ride. For the third time in a row, there was no line for the ride. Sunset and Pinkie walked on unhindered. The inside of the ride was mostly empty, save for colored pads against the walls, differentiated only by color. Each one looked just large enough to hold one person. The two leaned back against the pads, waiting for the ride to start. You really think it would be that easy? Sunset asked, continuing the previous conversation. Pinkie smiled brightly and nodded. Sunset lost herself in thought. Could it really be that easy? Sunset did have the journal at home. She could write Princess Twilight and ask to visit Equestria, maybe just for a quick visit, and say hi to Twilight. And if things went well, maybe she could see Celestia? What would she say, though? Sunset was pulled from her thoughts when she felt the ride lumber to a start. She looked around in surprise. Apparently, nobody else had gotten on. The only other person on the ride was Pinkie, who seemed to think something was funny. What's so funny? Sunset asked as the ride's momentum started pressing on her into the padding. I was just thinking you looked... Pinkie clamped her mouth shut and turned her head away from Sunset, breaking into a coughing fit. You look like you were, thinking really hard. Yeah, that's it. A nervous laugh escaped her. Are you okay? Sunset called out, raising her voice above the rising din of the ride and increasing the volume of the music. Yeah, Pinkie struggled to stretch her arms out to give a thumbs up as she grinned. Centrifugal force had other ideas, and eventually Pinkie was forced to let her arm thud softly against the padded wall. The rest of the ride was too loud to carry a conversation, so the girls entertained themselves by abusing the force of the ride to stick to the wall in funny poses. Pinkie folded her arms out like an Egyptian. Sunset mimed making a snow angel, though the effect was lost thanks to her being unable to move her arms and legs quickly enough. When the ride began to slow to a stop, Pinkie was hanging upside down while Sunset was striking a yoga pose. As the music died down, the two looked at each other, each breaking into uncontrollable laughter at the other's silliness. They had trouble acclimating to solid ground as they stepped off the ride. Pinkie laughed as she used a lamppost to keep herself upright. Sunset had unceremoniously dumped herself on a bench next to the light, which arguably was the better choice of the two. Oh man, I can see why you suggested not eating before that ride. Everything's still spinning. Sunset chuckled as she looked at two Pinkies holding themselves up from the lamppost. A quick shake of her head dispelled the fake Pinkie, leaving only one of them still standing. Maybe there's a miracle in the real world. That's not in the story, by the way. Told ya, I know my carnival rides. It helps when you help set them up. Pinkie let go of the lamppost and stumbled her way into a seated position next to Sunset. Wait, you helped set up the carnival today? Sunset looked at her friend with a look that was both mildly surprising and impressed. Is that why you weren't answering your phone? I know Sideshow, the guy who owns the carnival, and asked if he'd need help setting up today. He did, so I worked super duper hard to make sure everything was set up just right for tonight. Pinkie looked up at the darkening sky. The first pinpricks of starlight were just now beginning to remind the world of their presence. Winking merrily down on the carnival. Carnivals are special places. They can take any frown and turn it upside down. Kind of like how I was in Visitron. And since you said you were having a bad day, I knew this would be a terrific surprise. That Sunset broke into a bright smile. Actually, really sweet, Pinkie. Thanks. Or don't mention it. It's my kind of thing anyway. Pinkie gave a small smile. Oh, we should get some funnel cake. Pinkie hopped to her feet. Sunset didn't need to be asked twice. Just in case there was any hesitation, though, her stomach growled loudly with its opinion. Okay, so I just took a break. Sorry about that. Soon the girls were tucking into their sweet treats with gusto. Sunset had opted for a simple topping of strawberries. Pinkie, on the other hand, hadn't held back on the toppings. Sunset wasn't even sure there was a funnel cake underneath that mound of whipped cream, chocolate syrup, ice cream, and 3 types of fruit. That didn't stop Pinkie from devouring the sugary monstrosity with the fervor of a college student back home for the holidays. I eat a lot every day, so I don't know what the holidays is about. Moving on. Pinkie, you've got something. Sunset pointed a finger at her own face, trying to point out where Pinkie had whipped cream on her face. That was less effective, though, as the whipped cream could have been described as everywhere. Sunset gave up with a laugh, passing a few napkins to her friend. Here. Thanks, want to try? Pinkie offered a forkful of her funnel cake, somehow managing to fit every flavor into one bite. Sunset leaned forward and took the bite. Her taste buds were immediately assaulted by a cavalcade of flavors that somehow blended into something that tasted good. Not bad. Sunset offered a bite of her own food. Want some of mine? Pinkie accepted the offer, reveling in the simplicity of Sunset's choice in toppings. A relative quiet fell over them as Sunset and Pinkie finished their food. Afterwards, they were off in search of another ride. How about that one? Sunset pointed to the Ferris wheel. I don't think I'm up for another go on the Dizitron right after eating. The Ferris wheel? Pinkie asked hesitantly. Okay. She led the way, though the usual pep in Pinkie's step was missing. The seating for the Ferris wheel could best be described as crazy. It wasn't cramped, but it wasn't exactly roomy or cozy. Why did I say crazy? Sunset supposed it wasn't too bad, though. Pinkie scooched to the other side of the car to let Sunset take a seat next to her. After the generic safety warning of keep your hands and feet in the ride, the car started gliding up towards the top of the neon-lit wheel. They slowed to a stop once they reached the apex of the ride. Hey, I can see my house from here, Sunset pointed to the apartment complex a couple blocks away. It's a nice view from up here, she noted. Pinkie nodded. Hey, who else's house do you think we could see from here? I bet we could find some of the girls' houses. Sunset scanned the skyline. Hey, there's your house. Sunset glanced at Pinkie, only to have to do a double take. Pinkie sat with her hands clenched in her lap and looking downward. She bore a striking resemblance to Fluttershy. Are you okay, Pinkie? Thoughts of playing Spot the House were immediately forgotten as Sunset turned her full attention to her friend. Yeah, why do you ask? Pinkie asked shakily. Are you afraid of heights or something? We can tell the ride operator to let us down if you want. Sunset leaned over to the side of the car a bit to try and get the attention of the carnival employee below. No, Pinkie's eyes widened. No, I'm not afraid of heights. I've just been thinking. About what? Stuff, I guess. Pinkie, whatever it is, you can talk to me. You're my friend. Sunset placed a hand awkwardly on Pinkie's shoulder. I know, but what if the thing I'm thinking of is super scary? Like, what if you thought differently of me because of it? Pinkie, that won't happen. We're friends and that's not going to change. Promise? Pinkie looked up hopefully. I promise. Pinkie promise? Sunset couldn't stop a snort of laughter from slipping out. I Pinkie promise, Sunset confirmed, even going so far as to mime the motions of the promise. Pinkie seemed a bit less apprehensive after that. Even so, she took a few moments to speak again. You know how I throw parties and stuff? Yeah, Sunset nodded. What about it? Well, when I throw parties, it's because I like making people smile. It gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Like chicken noodle soup when you feel sick or when you wrap up in a fuzzy blanket on a cold day. I'm not going to argue with that. But with you, Sunset, it's different. I like your smile. Didn't you just say you like making everyone smile? Sunset interrupted, tilting her head in confusion. I do, but I don't just like making you smile, Sonny. I like your smile. Making others smile gives me warm fuzzies. When you smile, it's like I could float up with the clouds. Pinkie had started to turn a deeper shade of pink than usual. I like you, Sonny, like you. And I want to make you super happy and do stuff that people do when they're more than friends. I want to go to the movies with just the two of us and snuggle close one while we whisper and make fun of the bad scenes. I want to go out to restaurants and share food with you, the way people do when they pretend not to see the person they like sneaking a bite off their plate because they're not going to do it too, or they're going to do it too. I want to take long walks on the beach and hold hands and maybe kiss and have picnics by the creek on the weekends. And maybe have sleepovers where we stay up late talking about mushy stuff and cuddle to keep warm because the heat went out and we've got 50 million blankets on us to keep warm, but all we need is each other. And I know I haven't really tried to say any of this before, but I didn't want to upset you, and now we're together and I can't stop talking, and I really need to say all this because I felt like I'm going to pop. Pinkie gasped for breath, looking into Sunset's eyes and trying to gauge a reaction. Sunset opened her mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. She never thought of any of her friends in a romantic light. Come to think of it, she hadn't thought of anyone romantically since she did Flash Sentry, and even then it had been more to try and raise her social standing rather than out of any feelings. Pinkie was different. She was a bit random, but funny. She was energetic and always seemed to know how to make Sunset smile when she felt down. Tonight was a perfect example of that, but dating Pinkie. Would it really be that strange though? Sure, it would be different from their friendship now, but Sunset had to admit there might be some chemistry between the two of them. Dating Pinkie was far from the worst idea she'd ever had. Oddly enough, the thought of it now sent her stomach back to the Disitron. It's okay, I didn't think you'd say yes. I just needed to get that out. Tears had started to spill from Pinkie's eyes. The girl had seemed to wither under the silence. Pinkie, Sunset frowned. I'll be fine. And Pinkie forced a smile. Really, she turned away as much as she could from Sunset, though it didn't hide the sniffling. Pinkie, can you just give me a moment? It's a moment. It's a lot to take in, is all. Sunset took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. Okay. Okay, what? Pinkie turned back slightly, her face full of confusion and heartbreak. Let me rephrase that, Pinkie. You wanna, I don't know. Sunset rubbed the back of her head awkwardly. Get dinner with me on Friday? Maybe we could see a movie together. Like a date? Pinkie turned to face Sunset fully. Well, no, it's not like a date. A date with you and me together. Sunset let out a nervous chuckle. Wow, I'm bad at this. You're not just saying that? What? Of course, no, of course not. Pinkie, you're a good friend, and if I'm honest, there could be some real chemistry between us. Enough of it that, yeah, the idea of going on a date with you sounds like a really fun idea. Pinkie's mouth kept opening and closing. Sunset was starting to worry she'd broken her friend until Pinkie spoke. You really think there's chemistry? I mean, it's not my best subject, so it's a little hard for me to know what chemistry. Pinkie's eyes widened in surprise as Sunset's lips met her own. All her worries were gone, replaced by bubbliness as Pinkie melted down into the kiss. Time only started moving again when Sunset reluctantly entered the kiss. Oh yeah, there's definitely some chemistry here, Sunset smirked confidently. Nice, a male voice interrupted. Sunset and Pinkie both snapped their attention to the ride operator. They hadn't realized it, but the ride had ended and they'd been sitting at the bottom of the Ferris wheel for who knew how long. Sunset scowled at the ride operator while Pinkie grinned in embarrassment. It'll just send you two back up. Or I'll just send you two back up, he gulped before starting the ride again. Pinkie and Sunset cuddled close. An involuntary shiver ran through Sunset. It's cold up here, she noted. It's a good thing you're warm, she joked. You made me leave my jacket at home. Pinkie giggled and rested her head on Sunset's shoulder, snuggling as close as she could. That was fun. Thanks for taking me, Pinkie. I had a good time. A faint smile tugged at the corners of Sunset's mouth, one that had been lingering for the last few hours. You want a drink? Or you want a drink? Mm-hmm, Pinkie yawned. I didn't realize how thirsty I was. Sunset smiled and stepped into the kitchen. She returned moments later with 2 water bottles in hand. She'd found Pinkie fast asleep on her couch already, contently smiling. Sunset smiled and set the waters down, tiptoeing out of the room. She came back with a blanket and slipped next to the sleeping girl, cuddling up close to her. Pinkie murmured something in her sleep and sank into Sunset. Sunset couldn't help but grin at how cute Pinkie was. She held Pinkie close and sleep started to overtake her. Yeah, definitely some chemistry here. So that pretty good, I actually have to say. I mean, good story in terms of the plot, and also good story in like the references and dialogue that they said. definitely did a really good job of capturing Pinkie. I'll say that much. So let's see. Let's give this one go up, and we'll give this one fave, and we'll give it a like as well. So yeah, Love, Laughter, and Funnel Cake by. Now I have to scroll back down to see who it's by. Dorvish Pony. If anyone else has any suggestions of things you want me to read, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll just pick something else out of my read later list.